Hey guys, this is John, and I'm playing SuperCoco in the 15-minute pool on ICC. SuperCoco opens with d4. Let's play d5. I played knight f6 my last few games, so why don't we play a Queen's Gambit declined? We'll see how that goes. c6 would be an interesting experiment for me, this triangle setup. So this could lead to some pretty sharp lines if white wants to oblige me. e4 is the principal move here for white, which could lead to the so-called Marshall Gambit after d takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop b4 check. e3 is a very safe move. After this move, we could head into a semi-Slav with knight f6, or I could try to play a system involving f5. I'm just going to play knight f6 because I'm most comfortable with this setup for black. If they had played knight f3 instead of e3, by the way, that could lead to the note boom variation. So as we have it here, though, we're bound for either a Meran or anti-Meran, or possibly a system involving b3. Yeah, bishop d3's the Meran system. And black should take. I'm only taking on c4 now that the bishop has committed itself, and now I'll play b5. They usually go bishop d3 here, after which black can play either a6 or bishop b7. Those are the two most common moves. There's also a system involving b4 that's more of like an equalizing system. I'm going to play bishop b7. This is the move I usually play. a6 is sharper. a6 would try to prepare c5 right away. Basically, it's imperative for black to try to work to play c5 immediately, because if you wait too long to try to get c5 in, there's a good chance that this bishop will just get buried on b7. So hence the popularity of a6, or my move bishop b7, after which I'll be playing a6 on the next move, most likely. Unless they play e4. If they play e4, then I would have played b4, knight a4, and then c5. So he castles, common move, I'll play a6. So here, this position is actually kind of critical already, because if white doesn't play e4, in my opinion, black will equalize pretty effortlessly. So e4, c5, and then either e5 or d5 is the critical line. So yeah, he plays e4, so SuperCoco knows how to play this line, apparently. I'm just going to look at his stats. 15-minute rating, peak of 1920. 17 wins, 16 losses. Fairly new account. 5-minute rating of 1769. So fairly consistent. We'll see if they play e5 or d5. d5 is the better move. e5 in this position actually is not that good. If e5, I think the move is bishop takes f3, I want to say. Bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, c takes d4. If I'm not mistaken. Might also be c takes d4. Can't quite recall. If he plays d5, black can play either c4 or queen c7. I'll probably play queen c7. That's the more flexible move. A lot of times in this variation, after d5, queen c7, black will castle queenside. So they'll play like bishop d6, castle queenside, and you get a very dynamic position. Double-edged, chances for both sides. So we'll see what he chooses. Plays e5. Okay, so this is going to test my memory here, how best to proceed. Because I know this move is not considered to be dangerous, but I have to figure out why. So my two main candidates, c takes d4 or bishop takes f3. I don't really want to play knight d5. If knight d5, knight e4, perhaps. The knight e4 is probably okay. I guess I don't have like a concrete reason for rejecting knight d5. I just seem to remember bishop takes f3 or c takes d4 being the better moves. So let's think for a second. Bishop takes f3. Queen takes f3. C takes d4. E takes f6. D takes c3. Yeah, that seems pretty good for black. If c takes d4 immediately, could transpose, almost. Just bishop takes f3 sticks out in my head. I really think it might be that move. What about bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, c takes d4, and knight takes b5? What if that happens? Then if I were to play knight takes e5, I don't think it's so good because of like queen takes a8, knight c7 check, forking my king and queen. So bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, c takes d4, knight takes b5. Let's say a takes b5, e takes f6. How am I playing there? Probably just recapturing, like g takes f6. Huh. If I play c takes d4 first, then if knight takes d4, I have knight takes e5, right? So if c takes d4, knight takes b5. Huh. I don't want to play bishop takes f3 just because I think it's the right move. I have to have a good reason to do that. This is a powerful bishop. But when I take that knight, it destabilizes d4. So let's look at that line one more time. Bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, c takes d4, knight takes b5 must be critical. Ooh, maybe it's knight d5 then. Could it be that move? Or is that too fancy? Knight d5. Very well could be that move. I'm going to play this. And I hope I'm not wrong about this. But something tells me it's the move, and I think I see a good line in queen takes f3, c takes d4, knight takes b5, knight d5. Yeah, so let's take now. And if they take on f6, I'm happy to take on c3. They take g7, I take with my bishop. I think that position is totally fine for black. It actually could just be bad for white, because if they take on c3, I have knight e5. Okay, so they're actually doing that. I will take. Yeah, I feel if f takes g7, bishop takes g7, the onus is already on white to prove that they don't have just a bad position, because b takes c3 could be answered by knight e5. Although then they have queen g3, to be fair. Queen g3 would hit my bishop on g7. Okay, so that's a detail that's important to note. Now, I want to take f6. I'll probably take it with my g-pawn. Queen takes would drop the rook on a8. Knight takes would allow knight queen c6 check. So I think I'd rather take with my g-pawn. There's also knight e5, right? What's up with knight e5? Knight e5, queen g3 would be forced, because knight e5, f takes g7 is impossible because I take on f3 with check. So knight e5, queen g3, I could take on f6 then if I wanted. Either with my queen or with my pawn. No, not queen because of bishop g5. So probably pawn. Knight e5, queen g3, g takes f6. Let's say bishop e4. It's maybe a little more play than I would want to allow. Knight e5, queen g3, g takes f6. Let's say bishop e4, rook c8. Is that all that bad for me? My king safety will be in question. This is true. But aside from that, the position seems fine. I'm burning a lot of time early in this one, but I think it's crucial because this will determine how the rest of the game will go. I mean, as it stands, I'm going to be going up a pawn. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to net that pawn. So it's between knight e5 and taking on f6. Knight e5, queen g3, g takes f6, bishop e4, rook c8, let's say bishop f4. They have a slight initiative there. Then again, if g takes f6 immediately, probably they will play bishop e4 all the same, or bishop f4 rather. Also there they might have an initiative. Tiny one. All right, I'm going to play g takes f6. Am I? Yeah, I'll play g takes f6. The threat is knight e5, but they're obviously not going to allow that. So I'm expecting bishop f4. It's a little bit scary, I'm not going to lie. I mean, my king safety is shattered. I'm not going to be castling kingside, barring some exceptional circumstance. So bishop f4, I'm thinking like rook c8, most likely. Could play bishop c5, perhaps. Hard to say. Bishop e4, okay. So they might be going for a direct pin on my knight on c6. Or, if rook c8, they might just be going for bishop b7. Yeah, that's probably more likely. Rook c8, bishop b7. Say rook c5. Take a6. Yeah, that bishop could be annoying. I don't think I can win that bishop. But if rook b8, bishop c6 is hard to shake. All right, I got to play faster, so let's go rook c8. Then we'll figure out what to do in the case of bishop b7. I hate to be so casual about that, but I don't think it was worth spending more time debating the merits of like rook b8 or some other move. So bishop b7, probably rook c4. Bishop takes a6. Queen b6 could be met by queen a8 check then. So maybe bishop e7, rook c5 is the better bet. Bishop c6 doesn't concern me as much because I have queen c7. Although then f6 hangs at the end of that line. So maybe that should concern me more. Huh. Yeah, it probably should. Well, I'll be curious to see what he chooses here. But yeah, bishop c6 or bishop b7 are possible. I'm starting to think knight e5 might have been more accurate on move 14 instead of g takes f6. Bishop c6, queen c7. Say queen takes f6. Rook g8. Bishop takes d7, queen takes d7. It's a messy position where my king's safety is in question, but there will be pressure on g2. Rook d1. Okay, so with rook d1, he's trying to play bishop c6 next, it seems. But I have queen c7 here. Kind of have to play queen c7. I wonder if they're going to go bishop f4 then. They might. Nevertheless, I think I have to play this move. So bishop f4, knight e5. Bishop takes e5. I would have to take with a pawn then, because queen takes would run into bishop c6. So pawn takes e5. I'm still up a pawn, but the position is shaky. It's not stable yet. Queen f6, rook g8. Bishop takes h7. Rook g7. Murky. I need a move or two to consolidate. This is what I really need here. Note that bishop f4, queen takes c3 would be bad in view of rook a c1, x-raying my rook on c8. So I don't want to play that. Yeah, bishop f4, I have to play knight e5. I think that's the only move. So knight e5, plays bishop b7. That move doesn't seem quite right to me. Knight e5, queen e4, f5. What are you doing? How are you saving your piece? Maybe knight e5, queen takes f6 is their plan. That's probably it. Queen takes b7, queen takes h8. Yeah. I see. So they want to go like rook b8. If I were forced to play rook b8, then bishop c6 maybe. Well, I could play rook d8 here. But they'll have pressure on d7. Queen takes c3 is bad just because of bishop takes c8. Yeah, bishop b7 might be a good move. Knight e5, queen takes f6 is no good. Kind of thinking I should play rook d8. Yeah, let's go rook d8. Can't afford to think about it much longer. So if bishop f4, I'll play e5. If bishop c6, I'm thinking bishop g7 and maybe castle kingside. Ooh, they have bishop a3 though in that case. That is really unpleasant. Yikes. I could be kind of paralyzed here soon. In the case of bishop c6. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good, guys. I wonder if bishop c6 I have to play bishop d6. But they have queen takes f6 then. Yeah, there's problems all over the place in this position after bishop c6. Queen c6, huh. More simplistic. They really want that pin on the knight. So trade, bishop c5. I have to get out of the pin, like ASAP. I think I can though, right? Queen takes, bishop c5. All right, well, I have to take. There's no reasonable alternative. And bishop c5. Planning king e7. Like, king e7 will be my next move in almost every case here. Because I think they're going to develop this dark square bishop, and then they'll be threatening rook takes d7. And then rook takes d7, rook d1, adding an attacker to that rook that I would have there. I think bishop c6 on move 18 would have put me under more significant pressure than the queen trade, unless I'm missing something here. But I think I will be able to achieve king e7 next move and get out of the pin. Both getting low on time. My time management was not good here, but I faced some important decisions early on. To be quite frank, I should know this line better if I'm going to play this opening. Like, I should know what's going to happen if I play like bishop takes f3 on move 11. a4, I consider that move. I could play I could play b4 if I wanted, but I'm thinking I'll just play king e7 anyways. Let him win the pawn, just to get out of this attack. Yeah, let's not tempt fate and try to maintain the pawn. We'll just go here. So after a takes b5, do I want to get fancy and play knight e5? Or do I want to just take back and then play knight e5 when they take with their bishop? That's probably what I'll do. Yeah, I don't think there's a huge reason to play knight e5 immediately, so let's just do it this way. So we're headed for an endgame with equal material. He has the two bishops, but aside from that, it seems okay for me. I'm anticipating bishop takes b5, knight e5, maybe bishop f4 then, connecting his rooks together. Bishop a3, really? Interesting. Ah, okay. Yeah, that's an interesting move. Underestimated that move. So bishop takes a3, rook takes a3. They're claiming that it's difficult for me to move. Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Could be a strong move. I wonder if f5 is decent for me here. f5, he has rook takes d7. That's not good. Ooh, bishop a3 might just be strong. Yeah, that's a good move by him. Very good move. Huh. Didn't anticipate that. I could be paying the price now. Yeah, it's like, what do I do? Because if I take, he takes, knight e5, he has this really annoying move, rook a7. That's what kills me. Yeah, I must be losing material in this position. I just am. Alright, well, I'm going to take. I don't know what else to do. Play f5, I guess. I'm going to lose the d7 knight, though. Rook a7, I'm just going to play king f6 and try to survive, but it's a lost position. I had no way of saving the piece. I'll try to grovel in this endgame, but yeah, I'm not liking my prospects. With 1 minute and down a piece. Yeah, let's trade once, otherwise f7 is too weak. He's using some time. If I can trade the b for the c pawn, I might have some outside chances of holding. Just because I can localize the struggle to the king side. That's the only reason. Yeah, so like now I'll play rook b8 and try to go b4. He could play a Luft move like g3 or something. Because then if b4, c takes b4, rook takes b4, he has bishop e8. Yeah, g3 is strong. I'm busted. King e5, he has rook a5. Let's go f4. This is not going to help, but it's something. So they can go rook a5 and just pick up that pawn now. I really would have liked to play b4 so I could trade off those pawns, but it wasn't looking like it was working. Just got to play fast, that's about it. Try to resist as long as I can. He is being very methodical here. Almost too methodical. He shouldn't be taking this much time, I don't think. Bishop d7 is good here. I have 33 seconds left to his minute and 50. Ooh, never mind. Okay. I thought he had an idea involving rook f3 for a second, but no. I think he's just going to try to get behind his pawn, like rook c3, but I'll play rook c5 and block him for now. Let's go here.
Check.
I'm advancing my pawns on light scores just to keep his bishop at bay. I have a nice position for my king, but that's about it. Rook c5, block his bishop for now. This is where my bullet practice comes in handy, right? I have a feeling I'm going to swindle this guy.
Time warning.
Just this weird feeling. Okay, we'll take that.
Check. Check.
Let's go h4. Needs to get his rook active.
Check. 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 Check.
get behind that pawn.
check, 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 check,
Yeah. All right, so total swindle at the end, just based on time. But, all right, let's have a look at this. So this line is very sharp. And I was talking about the move order nuance. So playing the QGD move order and getting into like a, they call this the triangle setup. So this allows white to play e4 if they want, which leads to a very sharp gambit after d takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop
Check.
b4 check. Because if white wants, they can play bishop d2 and gambit the d4 pawn. Queen takes d4, hitting the knight. Lots of theory associated with that. So that would have been interesting if white had gone into that, but he just opted for a safer move, e3. Oh, and the note boom variation, just FYI, is if knight f3, black can take on c4. And black often tries to maintain the pawn on c4 too. So, like e3, b5, a4, bishop b4. Also a lot of theory associated with this line. So instead, he plays e3. I played knight f6, he went knight f3, knight bd7, and then bishop d3. D takes c4, bishop takes c4, b5. Yeah, so two main moves here, bishop b7 or a6. Both are playable. I chose bishop b7. a6 prepares c5 earlier, but there's some pretty sharp lines in this as well, like e4, c5, and then again, the same choice for white, e5 or d5. So it's just a matter of preference, like whether you prefer a6 or bishop b7 in this position. I have a little bit more experience with bishop b7, so that's why I chose it. a6, now e4. Yeah, so I just couldn't quite recall what to do after e5. It's been a while since I've looked at this line. I've never faced this line OTB. If d5, I was going to play queen c7. And this leads to some very interesting positions in my opinion. But e5. Okay, so I took on f3, but I wonder if this was more accurate. And then after e takes f6, then take on f3. Or I wonder if the take on f3 is just completely a product of my imagination, and it really has no place in this line. I would check chess base, but that would take too long for our purposes in this video, so let's just take a look here. The engine says c takes d4, knight takes b5, now bishop takes f3. Okay. So why is bishop takes f3 important? A takes b5, e takes f6. Yeah, g takes f6. Knight takes d4. These variations are all melding together in my head. This is just some real concrete theory you basically got to know in this line. And clearly, I need to refresh my memory. Huh. Because undoubtedly, bishop takes f3 looks like a risky move. But if you want to win this d-pawn cleanly, it's a good way to do it. So I took right away, yeah, that looks like a mistake. Computer indicates that that's not a good idea. C takes d4, knight takes b5. A takes or bishop takes f3 now. Queen takes f3, knight d5. This might have been the line I was thinking of. I think I actually mentioned this line via a different move order. Knight d5. So maybe the point is you save the knight on f6. You don't allow them to take it. Then if they take here, you can take on e5. And black should be doing okay, thanks to this awesomely placed knight. Yeah, I think that's the move order. C takes d4, knight takes b5, then bishop takes f3. Queen takes f3, knight d5. Not even bothering with this, because this is like the game. Yeah, this is similar to the game. Black has to wreck their pawn structure, and white gets the two bishops. So, okay, revealing. I'll confirm that with the database later, but... Okay, bishop takes f3 put me in hot water. C takes d4, e takes f6, d takes c3. He just took back. Yeah, now I was debating between knight e5 or taking on f6. And I settled with taking on f6. Because knight e5, I think they would play queen g3. The computer indicates queen e4 is even better. I don't think I considered queen e4. Then queen takes d3 doesn't work because of queen takes a8. I'm guessing knight takes d3 is bad because of this.
Check.
Just winning on the spot. Yeah. The king can't run, so this is forced, and then
Check.
queen takes a8. Yeah, more trickiness. Okay, well, regardless of what I choose here, I'm worse. I'm in trouble. Bishop e4, rook c8, rook d1, queen here. Yeah, and then you did this nice finesse with the bishop in order to get it to c6. See, I was more worried about stuff like bishop b7 in this position. Ah, knight e5. Okay, knight e5 is a good in-between move here. Hitting the queen. Yeah, I think I was considering like rook c5 and like letting him take here, but it just turns out the pin on the knight is way more important than like winning a random queenside pawn for white. So white has their sights set on a bigger prize. So rook d1, queen c7, bishop b7, rook d8. Yeah, I thought bishop f4 might be played. I was going to play e5. They did this, and I speculated that queen c6 was not so good. Take, bishop c5, and then a4. King e7. Okay, so wait a second. The engine is not saying that I'm doing too badly in this position. So I'm going to turn it off. How could I have saved the piece? Oh, it must be knight e5 immediately then. Maybe that's the opportunity I missed. That solves all my problems. Aha. Because after a takes B, and then bishop a3, I think I am losing a piece. I don't see any way I can avoid that in this position. And I was kind of nonchalant. I was like, there's no difference between a takes b5 and knight e5. I'll just play the more flexible move, take first, before committing my knight. But then he played bishop a3, and I was like, uh-oh. Yeah, that must be the move, huh? Let's look. Yep, knight e5. Knight e5, and black's even slightly for choice in this position. Interesting. Huh. That's fascinating. Black with the advantage. Yeah, it gives a line, like if he were to play a rook move here, let's say rook takes d8, then rook takes d8, he has to mine the back rank. So bishop e3, and now trade the bishops, and instead of taking on b5, take on c6. And after b takes c6, rook a8, defending the pawn on a6. And black just hopes to be able to go and win this pawn. Rook d1, trying to go to d7, and rook a7. And now this is the threat. So maybe in this case, black just ends up winning a pawn. It seems to be the case based on the computer's eval. Yep, so that was a move order mistake I made. Knight e5 would have been stronger first. And after a takes b5, bishop a3, I mean, look at that eval. So my a takes b5 move, that's a double question mark move. That swings the evaluation from at least equal for black, potentially just better in that endgame after knight e5, to outright losing. Bishop a3 was a real nice shot. Just exploiting my complete lack of coordination and the pin on the knight. Nicely played by SuperCoco. And there's no way out of this. If I play f5 right here, hoping for bishop takes d7, bishop takes a3, then it would be refuted by rook takes d7 check. Rook takes d7, bishop takes c5. He'll just be up material. He'll win my rook next move. Okay. Yeah, that was the ball game. I mean, I was very, very, very lucky to hold this position with 1 minute left against this 4.5, and him being in a plus 4.5 or 5 position. I think that was just purely due to the clock, though. Well, I know it was purely due to the clock. I don't think it was due to the clock. Yeah, that said, he didn't convert this in the best way possible. It seemed like...
Check.
I don't know. It seemed
Check.
like he should have been able to do something quicker with his
Check.
advantage. Not let me win one of his kingside
Check.
pawns.
Check. Check. Check.
He never got that c-pawn rolling.
Check.
And I was
Check.
just pre-moving like crazy around here because I was down 10 seconds.
Check. 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 Check.
Yeah. Okay, so that was pretty fascinating. Well, I learned a couple things from this game. One, I have to be better prepped in this line. And I have to look this up and confirm whether c takes d4 is just the best move here. Intending this line, c takes d4, knight takes b5, now bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, and knight d5. So I want to create some sort of mental marker in my head about how this line works. So I think if I get this line in the future, I'll remember this game. Remember that you don't want to pull the trigger on bishop takes f3 too soon. You take on d4, and the whole goal is to get the knight to d5 after bishop takes f3, queen takes f3. And I think black should be fine. I mean, what I remember about the theoretical status of this line is like it's fine for black, you just got to find this accurate continuation. So, also, you know, this just reinforces to me how important move orders are. You know, that decision that seemed trivial at the time, knight e5 versus a takes b5, there's a huge difference between those two moves, as it turned out, because I just blanked on bishop a3. So, I don't know that like any rule or something could guide me to finding knight e5 over a takes b5. That's kind of silly. It's just a matter of calculation. But clearly I didn't respect the bishop a3 move. I only anticipated bishop takes b5, after which I should be fine after this. Ooh, actually even here. Oh, that's funny. See, I'm learning lots of things from this game. I just assumed this position was fine. But no,
Check.
rook a7 is possible even here. That's a beautiful continuation. Bishop takes a7, bishop
Check.
a3. Crossfire from the bishops. Yikes. And then I'm busted. Rook d6, bishop takes d6. And I have to play this very unfortunate move, and he just
Check.
wins everything. Wow. So even my intended continuation was bad. Yeah, knight e5 was just clearly much better than a takes b5. So, SuperCoco, if you're watching this, you played a good game. You can be proud of that game. It's just, you know, that's the nature of the business when you get
Check.
in a time scramble here. But otherwise, you played very, very well. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this game. I'll be back tomorrow with another standard video. And please leave me any feedback in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.